The Crimson isn't a scary biome. We've gotten so used to it now that the bloody landscape and scary monsters are more of an annoyance than an actual horror. And so, I tried making some illustrations that will reignite that unsettling, bloody, and hopefully gross looking feeling that this biome should have. And let me tell you, the end result will definitely prove me right. Today, I will be illustrating the Crimson Biome, both the surface and the underground. I will be sure to add the main elements of the biome and do some research about it to make the illustrations more accurate. Unlike the corruption, there are bits of lore that have captured my interest. But enough yapping, this is Amateur Artist Tries to Illustrate Terraria Biomes Part 2. Let's start off with the Crimson surface. Now, what I'm imagining is a vibrant red, bloody, and unsettling looking landscape with freaky elements like eyes, blood, and bones. Let's see if I've achieved that. First off is to illustrate the landscape. It's in grayscale, with the values going lighter the further the landscape is. Initially, it was going to be hilly, but I felt like the other elements, like the trees and mounds, wouldn't really fit in such a hilly landscape. So, flatlands we go. Then I added some details on the landscape, some on the monolith to give it more form, and more on the flatland for some grass. After all the details are set up, I overlaid the landscape with some color and made the sky. A dull red would suffice, just like in game. Alright, so far we have a boring and empty looking landscape, and that's because I haven't added some of the notable elements that make the Crimson. Some of those are the trees and the mounds. I added some tree trunks and mounds, and after that, incorporated the leaves onto the canopy of the tree. Now, as I stated in the beginning of the video, I wanted the artwork to look unsettling, bloody, and gross. The leaves, however, ruined that vibe. You'll see when I detail them. I purposely arranged the trees in such a way that the POV would be looking at a clearing from an enclosed area with a forest surrounding the observer. Anyway, it's canopy time. There we go. The trees look a lot more interesting now. But wait. Something's not right. If we compare the trees that I drew in the artwork and the trees in Terraria, you can see that they aren't really the same. Differences aren't only visible from the form, but the canopy as well. Furthermore, if we compare it to the grassland trees are more bushy than the Crimson trees, which means that the trees in the illustration should not have this thick of a bush. But why would I do that? Well, I feel that the canopy gives it more atmosphere and makes it feel enclosed. I wanted it to bloom and feel more lively, even though it's meant to be desolate and scary. Look, I promised that it would look good once the artwork is complete. I mean, you could see that the trees give this artwork a cozy vibe, which I really like. Anyway, with the canopy detail complete, I added some thorns. Screw these things, man, they are very annoying. Details to the landmass far away, and the mounds. Now, for the mounds, since they are made of crimstone, which has a more vibrant red hue, doesn't really fit in with the other elements of the artwork. So, like the ebon stone in my corruption artwork, the colors are more dulled out. And as you can see, there's also this spot on the entranceway layered with dirt. Why? Why not? It looks cool. There's no other reason. Then, shadows from the canopy, falling leaves, details on the rocks, more rocks, thorny details, and adding a yellowish hue on the leaves of the tree facing the sun. Now, one of the unique aspects of the evil biome is how the lighting is dimmer compared to other surface biomes. And I tried to achieve that by putting low effort fog or clouds in the sky. But after a bit of random lazily put additions, it doesn't really look good. So, let's do that later. The artwork sort of looks complete, but it still doesn't really look that interesting. So we need to give it a distinct element, something that makes it unique. Ah, I see! Eyes! And bones. The eyes will be scattered around the landscape, with the most prominent ones at a distance for their size. For the bones, I just copied the design from the background of the crimson surface. And also, I added some sticky exude from the crimson spikes on the entrance of the mound. Speaking of which, these spikes are very prominent on the entrance of crimson mounds. Look, it's design, alright? Looks like someone's making excuses. Wait, why are there two of us? Then I added some coagulated blood on the trees, because I thought it would look cool. I also added some vines for the same reason. And finally, detailed the bones and eyes. Oh yeah, I also added eyes to the ground because of this grass sprite. Anyway, what else is there to add? Oh, the mobs! Oh, screw that, I'm not adding them in this artwork. Mainly because there isn't really enough space to add it in where it doesn't blend into the background. I guess the last thing to do is to add that haze that the Crimson Biome, or literally any evil biome, is notably known for. I'd like to believe that they are spores, spreading the evil to the rest of the world. If that's the case, then why don't the spores infect us? Nah, the Terrarian gets allergies from them. Nothing worse. Anyway, here's the artwork. Cozy, but also unsettling, especially with the haze. The eyes and bones are a good focus point, but I wanted to add something different. Anyway, it's time for the second artwork. Now, the Underground Crimson is the main course of this video, and that's because you will see the signature boss of this biome. I'm sure you've already seen it from the thumbnail, but anyway. In the trivia section, specifically on the second bullet, there are many interpretations as to what this crimson cavity would resemble, and one of those interpretations are, these chasms could represent the body of a neuron, a cell in the brain, evidenced by its associated boss, the Brain of Cthulhu, which I think is interesting. Now, watch me not achieve that. To start off this illustration, we illustrate the cave. Grayscale, as always. It is split into 6 layers to give the artwork a lot more depth. Next, we add the crimson altars, then we color the entire cave with that bloody red hue. By the way, I would like to think that crimson altars are the mature forms of crimson pots. And as I said in the corruption video, I would also like to think that the mobs would spawn through these altars. But anyway, since we are inside the cave, the surroundings are going to be dimly lit, with the crimson altars being the main source of light in the cavern. But for now, let's disable those layers and start detailing the cave. For most of these details, they weren't really important and are just there to make the cave walls look interesting. But as I was detailing, I kind of realized that it doesn't actually look good, and it looks even worse with the hue. Probably because of the contrast between the shadows, but oh well. Anyway, let's try to amend that issue by not fixing it, but adding more detail. I added some cracks on the walls of the cave because I thought it would look good. No! And while I was drawing the cracks, I realized something. The more that I look at those cracks, the more I realized that it kind of looks like blood vessels stuck to the walls. And it feels like we are in a cavity of some sort. Unintentional improvements to my artwork. Anyway, repulsiveness aside, the cave still looks pretty empty and uninteresting, and I think it's time to detail one of the important elements of the Underground Crimson, the Crimson Altar. Now, the Crimson Altar is an altar that I would imagine to be slimy, muscly, and meaty, with eyes on top of it. And to be honest, the eyes were the best part. Initially, I wanted to detail it like the sprite, especially the crevices and cracks on the base, but after some botched crevice outlining, I didn't really like how it looked. So, I made the crevices vertical so that the altar looks like it's growing upwards. Then, we added some details. Again, the eyes were the best part. It looks like the eyes are bleeding from the edges. Very simple but also very stylish. I added the details of the rest of the altars, and speaking of which, let's make this a time lapse so that I can get more watch time. For now, I'm satisfied with them, but I'll come back later and see if there are any improvements that I should make. Anyway, fights. Because they exist. It kind of looks weird with how many there are, and it's good to tone them down a bit. Well then, with the background complete, I started illustrating the fauna of the Crimson. Chimera, blood crawlers, and last but not the least, the Brain of Cthulhu. Okay, let me be honest here for a second. Illustrating these things were a massive challenge. I had to step out of my comfort zone and illustrate something that's living. Something with definite boundaries. And whenever I illustrate something that's a living creature, it always feels off, like it doesn't look right. It doesn't look realistic. It doesn't look accurate. And when the sprite looks like this, I don't want to disappoint any of you guys with a low effort and inaccurate illustration. I want to go all out. Making these took me a really long time because it uses a lot of mental energy. Furthermore, I really wanted it to live up to my expectations, knowing that it would never ever reach that. Oh well, probably have to improve my art skills to make this look better. But anyway, let's finish this artwork off with a time lapse. I mean, it looks alright. I don't think it's what you would have wanted, but I guess you're getting what you're getting. But to be honest, the BOC looks incredibly menacing with that lighting, slowly inching its way towards the POV. Plus, the chimera, creepers, and blood crawlers surrounding the area, it feels like a showdown is about to begin. That's the entire Crimson Biome illustrated. If you want to see me illustrate the corruption, click this video over here.